Have you ever paused and looked at your reflection, wondering, when did I start feeling older, not just in body, but in spirit? What if getting older wasn't a slow fade, but a secret doorway to deeper peace, sharper clarity, and a joy that doesn't fade? Stay with me, because what you're about to hear might just change the way you see the years ahead. Forever. There was a time, not too long ago, when I found myself just sitting quietly on a park bench, watching the world rush by. The laughter of children, the hurried footsteps of joggers, the rustling wind, all of it moved with a rhythm I couldn't seem to catch anymore. I felt like time was slipping through my fingers, like sand in an hourglass. My body no longer felt light or agile. My energy wasn't what it used to be, and a quiet question lingered in my mind. Is this it? Is this what aging really looks like? But then, something shifted. Just across from me, an elderly man, easily in his 80s, was tossing a frisbee back and forth with his grandchild. He wasn't just smiling, he was beaming, laughing with a freedom so full of life, he seemed no older than 20. That single moment cracked something open in me. It was like a flash of realization. Aging doesn't have to mean decline, it can mean awakening. Yes, our bodies change. But what if our later years were not about slowing down, but about tuning in, living with more awareness, more wisdom, more joy? What if this was the season to rediscover our purpose? Most people dread aging. We fear losing our strength, our excitement, our sense of adventure. But what if that fear is misplaced? What if, instead, this stage of life was an invitation to something deeper, something richer? That's where Buddhist philosophy steps in, not with promises of youth, but with timeless wisdom. Buddhism teaches that aging is not a loss, but a return to the present moment, to stillness, to authenticity, a return to you. And today, I want to share with you 8 essential Buddhist-inspired insights that can transform how you walk through the later chapters of life. These aren't complex rituals, they are simple, powerful practices that can help you not just survive, but truly thrive. Rooted in ancient teachings, each of these tips is a gentle guide to a life filled with strength, peace, and deep fulfillment. Because believe me, if you walk this path, you may just discover that the most meaningful years of your life are still ahead of you. Ready to begin this journey? Let's take the first step. Tip number 1. Walk your way to strength, a path to mindfulness. There's something deeply sacred about walking. It may seem like a simple act, but it holds the power to transform not only your body, but your mind and soul. I still remember the first time I laced up my shoes and stepped outside, not knowing what I was really seeking or where I was going. My steps were hesitant, my body heavy, and doubt echoed with every footfall. Can I really do this? But then, with each step, something began to shift. My breath slowed, my thoughts softened. The world around me started to come alive. The gentle rustling of trees, the golden sunlight dancing through the leaves, the chirping of birds I'd never truly noticed before. It was as if the universe was whispering, "Welcome back. You're here now." And in that quiet, in that steady rhythm of walking and breathing, I realized this was no longer just a walk. It was meditation in motion. In Buddhism, walk-in meditation is a sacred practice, one that helps ground us in the now. The Buddha himself was a tireless wanderer, his every step filled with intention and presence. His walking wasn't just movement, it was a message that life is a path we take one step at a time. Every time we walk forward, We are not just going somewhere, we are becoming something. Stronger, calmer, clearer. Earlier, we explored how walking, when done mindfully, can become a moving meditation, guiding us back to presence and peace. But here's something beautiful to remember. You don't need to walk for hours or cover long distances to experience that transformation. Sometimes, just 10 or 15 minutes around the block can change everything. It's not about how far you go, it's about how deeply you connect with each step. A short walk can quiet the mental noise, lift the weight from your chest, and bring you gently back into your body. You begin to notice your breath, the rhythm of your movements, the world around you. Slowly but surely, your mind clears and your spirit begins to settle. I remember meeting an elderly woman at a quiet temple retreat. Her presence was gentle, yet strong. She told me how walking had become her sanctuary. Though her legs had grown weaker with age, she said, "Each walk gives me peace. When my body moves, my mind follows." Her voice was soft, but her words carried wisdom. What struck me was that she hadn't just gained physical strength, she had built emotional resilience. Her daily walk wasn't just a habit, it was a ritual, a way to reclaim harmony between her body and mind. This is exactly what Buddhism teaches us. The body and mind are not separate, they are reflections of each other. Every conscious step you take becomes a quiet revolution. So even if your legs are slower now, even if your pace has changed, it doesn't matter. What matters is intention. Walk with purpose. Walk with awareness. Walk with presence. Because in those small, steady steps, you'll uncover something powerful, not just in your legs, but in your heart. So, how are you walking through life? What meaning lies in each step you take? Now let's move on to another powerful, yet often overlooked practice. One that starts not with your feet, but with your fork. Tip number 2. Eat like you love yourself. Nourishment from the heart. As we grow older, something becomes undeniably clear. The way we treat our bodies matters more than ever. I can still remember the quiet moment I decided to change how I ate. Not because I had to, but because something deep inside whispered, "You deserve better." For years, I reached for whatever was quick and easy. Chips, soda, snacks that gave fleeting comfort but left me sluggish and drained. I was feeding my body, yes, but not nourishing it. It wasn't until I made a simple pot of soup using fresh, colorful vegetables that something shifted. The act of slicing, stirring, and preparing something with love felt like a meditation. The warmth of the bowl in my hands, the aroma of herbs, the vibrant colors of the carrots and greens. It awakened something. It reminded me that food isn't just fuel, it's a message to myself that I am worthy of care. In Buddhist philosophy, food is more than sustenance. It's seen as a sacred offering, an act of honoring the body, which in turn houses the mind and spirit. The Buddha taught about moderation, balance, and mindfulness, not just in thought, but in how we eat. Mindful eating isn't a trend. It's a return to something ancient and essential. It's about noticing the texture of a bite, the warmth of a meal, the gratitude you feel for having something nourishing on your plate. You're not just eating to fill a void. You're eating to honor your body. I once met an elderly monk during a meditation retreat. His face was calm, his posture upright, his energy strong. When asked how he remained so healthy, he smiled and said, "Food is my medicine. When I eat, I honor the life that feeds me. I eat in balance, in gratitude." His words stayed with me. Every meal is a chance to care for ourselves, and that care doesn't have to be grand. Start small. Add a handful of greens to your lunch. Swap juice for water. Light a candle before dinner. Each small act is a gesture of love, a whisper that says, "I'm worth it." So ask yourself, what does your food say about how you see yourself? Do you eat with care or out of habit? Reflect on your relationship with food. Is there a way to bring more kindness, more attention, more love to every bite? And as we nourish our bodies, let's explore how we can also nourish our minds. After nourishing our bodies with mindful care, we now turn to something just as essential for the soul, something light, effortless, yet deeply healing: joy. Tip number 3, laugh often, the healing power of joy. Laughter, such a simple act, yet it holds immense power. When was the last time you laughed so hard that it echoed from deep within your chest? The kind of laugh that shakes your belly, softens your heart, and leaves your eyes glistening with tears of joy? That kind of laughter, the one that strips away all pretense, isn't just entertainment. It's medicine. I remember one such moment with my dear friend Betty. We've known each other for decades. Through the seasons of our lives, with all the changes that came our way, we always returned to one simple ritual: our movie nights. They were never elaborate, just the two of us, an old DVD, a warm drink, and an evening filled with connection. One night, we were watching a classic slapstick comedy, one of those wonderfully absurd, over-the-top films. There was a scene so ridiculous, so delightfully silly, that we burst into uncontrollable laughter. Not just a little giggle, I'm talking about full-body, breathless laughter. We laughed until our sides ached, until we couldn't even look at each other without bursting out again. And in that moment, all the worries we carried about health, aging, responsibilities, they vanished. There was only joy. There was only us. Two lifelong friends sharing a moment so pure, so alive, that nothing else mattered. In Buddhist philosophy, laughter is not seen as foolish or frivolous. It's a sacred expression, an indication of liberation from mental burdens. The Buddha himself is often remembered not as a somber figure, but one who smiled and laughed, encouraging others to greet life's absurdities with lightness and perspective. Laughter breaks down walls. It melts away fear. It reminds us that this life, even with its struggles, is still filled with wonder. But here's a gentle truth. As we grow older, many of us begin to forget how to laugh. We take things seriously, and understandably so. There are health concerns, family matters, and emotional challenges that weigh on us. Yet laughter doesn't require a perfect moment. It doesn't need a grand occasion. It lives in the small, unexpected places. A silly joke shared over tea. A moment of clumsiness that you can laugh at instead of hide. A funny memory that resurfaces when you're least expected. At a meditation retreat once, I met a wise, elderly woman. She told me with a sparkle in her eye, "When I was young, I worried too much, but now I choose to laugh. Laughter clears my mind better than any mantra." I never forgot her words. She wasn't denying life's hardships. She was simply choosing joy. So, I encourage you, laugh often. Laugh freely. Don't wait for everything to be perfect. Just find the humor in the little things. Laugh at the unexpected. Laugh at yourself. Laugh because your heart still knows how. Laughter is a gift, not just to you, but to everyone you share it with. It uplifts, it connects, it heals. The more we laugh, the more alive we feel. So, what makes you laugh? What silly moment funny story, or shared memory fills you with joy even now? Take a moment to reflect, and maybe even smile, because up next, we'll explore something that goes hand in hand with laughter, the art of letting go. After rediscovering the joy of laughter, we now turn to something quieter, but just as vital, a steady rhythm to carry us through the days: routine. Tip number 4. Build a routine. The wisdom of structure in aging. As we move through the later chapters of life, many of us face an unexpected challenge: the quiet drift of unstructured time. Without the schedules we once followed, jobs, appointments, responsibilities, days can begin to blur together. Life starts to feel like a small boat adrift on a vast sea, with no anchor, no clear direction. I know that feeling well. After retiring, I thought freedom from deadlines would bring relief. But instead, I woke up to long, open days that felt strangely empty. The structure that once shaped my time had vanished, and with it, a sense of purpose. It was in that quiet space of discomfort that I made an important realization. We need structure, not to confine us, but to center us. Even a gentle routine can bring balance and calm to the soul. Buddhism teaches this beautifully. The Buddha often emphasized discipline, not as a rigid set of rules, but as a mindful rhythm. When we live with intention, we give shape to our days and peace to our minds. So I started small. Each morning, I brewed a simple cup of coffee at exactly 8 a.m. That quiet ritual became something I looked forward to. Just me, the warmth of the mug, and the stillness before the day began. Afterward, I'd take a walk, not for cardio, but to clear my thoughts, to breathe, to listen to the birds. By noon, I'd curl up with a book, not because I had to, but because it allowed me to journey somewhere new within the safety of my own home. I even began feeding the squirrels that visited my backyard. Watching them nibble and scurry became a moment of connection. A gentle reminder that I was still part of life's larger rhythm. At first, I worried I was trying too hard to fill my time, but slowly I began to feel different. I felt rooted again. The routine gave me a sense of flow. Each small act gave me something to look forward to, and in that, I rediscovered meaning. In Buddhist philosophy, every moment holds the potential for mindfulness. Even the most ordinary tasks can be sacred when done with awareness. The Buddha urged us to slow down, to resist being swept away by distractions, and to return to the simplicity of presence. I remember speaking with an elderly monk during a retreat, curious about how he kept his mind so calm and focused despite the passing years. He looked at me with a serene smile and said, "I find peace in simplicity. Every day I follow the same rhythm: quiet time, meditation, meals, rest. That rhythm brings stillness to the mind." That stayed with me. It wasn't about doing more or staying busy. It was about being present in each act, allowing the day's structure to become a spiritual practice in itself. So I encourage you, create a routine that suits your pace, your needs, your heart. It doesn't have to be rigid or elaborate. Maybe it's a cup of tea at sunrise, a stroll in the evening air, or a few moments each day to sit quietly and reflect. These small rituals, done with care, can become anchors in a sea of time. What simple routines bring you a sense of peace and clarity? After establishing the grounding power of routine, we now turn to something just as vital for our emotional and spiritual well-being: human connection. Tip number 5, talk to someone. The Buddhist practice of connection. As we grow older, One of the most powerful, yet often overlooked sources of healing is connection. And not just being around people, but truly connecting. Heart to heart, voice to voice. There's a quiet strength in reaching out to another person. Yet, for many of us, that step can feel surprisingly difficult, especially if we've spent much of our lives believing we had to carry everything on our own. I know that mindset well. For years, I kept my feelings tucked away, hidden beneath a smile. I convinced myself it was noble to shoulder life's weight without burdening anyone else. I told myself it was strength, but the truth? It left me feeling isolated and emotionally distant from others and even from myself. And then something unexpected happened. My daughter called. It wasn't a serious conversation. We didn't dive into deep philosophies or share life-changing revelations. We talked about our days, about a new recipe she tried, about her dog doing something silly. We laughed, we paused, and we laughed again. That 1-hour phone call lifted a weight I didn't realize I'd been carrying. It was like a soft breeze had entered the room, clearing away old dust. I felt lighter, seen, loved. And that moment reminded me, we're not meant to walk this path alone. In Buddhism, connection isn't just encouraged, it's sacred. The Buddha taught about the Sangha, the spiritual community that supports and uplifts one another. He knew that no matter how deep our personal practice, we thrive when we feel heard, held, and understood. It's not about solving problems. Sometimes it's just about being witnessed, a shared story, a kind word, a simple nod that says, "I see you." I think of a friend of mine, now in her late 70s. She spent most of her life as a caregiver, raising children, tending to her husband, supporting aging parents. For decades, her needs came last. One day, she felt completely drained, physically tired and emotionally hollow. Instead of pushing through it alone, she did something brave. She reached out. She joined a small circle of women in her community, women who, like her, had spent much of their lives giving, often forgetting to receive. They shared stories of loss, love, and aging. They laughed, cried, and sometimes just sat in silence together. That space became a turning point for her. Through connection, she found strength again. Not the strength of doing, but the strength of being with others. Whether it's a joyful conversation filled with laughter or a quiet moment of vulnerability, talking to someone can release the emotional tension we carry around silently. It's not weakness, it's wisdom. Buddhism teaches us about interdependence, the understanding that we are not isolated islands, but deeply connected parts of a greater whole. When we reach out, we not only heal ourselves, we help others feel seen too. So if today you're feeling lonely, uncertain, or just in need of warmth, don't keep it all inside. Call a friend, wave to your neighbor, send that message you've been putting off. You never know how one simple act of reaching out can ripple into someone's heart. Who could you connect with today? Who have you not spoken to in a while? Reach out. That one message, that single call, might be exactly what both of you need. And as we open our hearts to connection, let's now turn inward to discover the quiet strength that comes from letting go. After reconnecting with others and rediscovering the joy of shared stories, now it's time to reconnect with something else. Your sense of wonder. Tip number 6. Try something new. Embrace the spirit of adventure. As we age, it's easy to fall into patterns, habits that bring comfort, routines that feel familiar. And while there's peace in stability, there's also a quiet risk. We stop exploring. We settle into predictability, and slowly, without realizing it, our days begin to lose their spark. I experienced this myself. Not long after retiring, I found myself going through the motions, waking up, making coffee, reading the same news, walking the same streets. Everything felt fine. But inside, I missed something. That flutter of excitement, that curious energy that once lit up my world. That's when I decided to do something completely unexpected. I signed up for a pottery class. Now let me tell you, I had never touched a lump of clay in my life. The thought of sitting at a wheel, spinning mud into something meaningful, felt ridiculous. Clay was messy, unpredictable, and honestly, I had no clue what I was doing. But that was the magic of it. I laughed at myself as I tried to center the clay, failing gloriously. My hands slipped, the shape wobbled, and the first bowl I made was so lopsided it couldn't hold a spoon. But you know what? I loved every second of it. There was freedom in the imperfection, joy in the mess, and that little crooked bowl now sits proudly on my shelf, not as a failed craft, but as a beautiful reminder. It's not about being good at something. It's about being willing to try. In Buddhist teachings, this willingness is called beginner's mind, the ability to approach each experience with openness, curiosity, and no expectation of outcome. It's about seeing the world with fresh eyes, as if for the very first time. When we release our attachment to being perfect, we open ourselves up to growing. Whether it's learning a language, picking up a brush, or just taking a different path on your morning walk, every new step invites expansion. It invites life back in. I think of my friend Margaret, a vibrant woman in her 70s who, after decades of raising a family, decided to take up painting. She was nervous at first, unsure of her talent and afraid of making mistakes. But once she let go of those fears, something beautiful unfolded. Her paintings weren't masterpieces, but they were hers. She painted with joy, with freedom, with a sense of possibility she thought she'd lost. She once told me, "I don't just see the world differently now, I feel it differently." That's the power of new beginnings. You don't have to travel far to find adventure. It might be in a cooking class, a dance studio, a poetry book, or even right in your own backyard. Buddhism reminds us, life is an ever-evolving journey. And fear or self-doubt are not stop signs. They are gentle invitations to move forward anyway. So let me ask you, what's something you've always wanted to try, but never gave yourself permission to do? Was it learning to dance, picking up a guitar, joining a local hiking group? You don't have to master it. You just have to begin. Because the beauty lies not in perfection, but in the courage to explore. What new experience can you invite into your life this week? Even if it feels uncertain, especially if it feels uncertain, take that first brave step. You never know where it might lead. And speaking of courage, up next, we'll discover how letting go can be one of the most freeing things you'll ever do. After stepping bravely into new experiences, it's just as important to step back, slow down, and honor one of life's most overlooked forms of healing: deep, restful sleep. Tip number 7, sleep like a champ, the power of restorative rest. There was a period in my life when sleep felt like a distant luxury, something other people enjoyed while I lay in the dark, eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling. My mind would race through 1,000 thoughts, unfinished to-do lists, regrets that resurfaced from years ago, Even small things like what should I cook tomorrow? Sound familiar? It's a quiet struggle that so many of us face as we grow older. And yet, over time, I came to understand something profound. Sleep isn't just a passive bodily function. It is an intentional act of care, one of the most sacred ways we nourish ourselves. One night, after weeks of restless tossing and turning, I made a small but powerful decision. Instead of letting my mind melt into late-night television or scrolling endlessly through my phone, I chose stillness. I turned off every screen. I dimmed the lights. I pulled out a worn book I'd once loved but hadn't touched in years. Then I made a cup of warm chamomile tea, sat quietly, and just breathed. That night, something shifted. For the first time in what felt like years, I didn't just sleep, I rested, truly, deeply, peacefully. And when morning came, it wasn't just my body that felt renewed. It was my whole being, as if something inside had gently reset itself. Buddhism often speaks of the middle way, a life of balance, not excess, not deprivation. Sleep, in this light, is more than recovery. It is a way to return to equilibrium. The Buddha taught that mindfulness doesn't end when the day does. In fact, those final quiet moments before sleep are some of the most sacred. They offer a chance to reflect with gratitude, to gently release the noise of the day, to enter rest with an open, forgiving heart. I'll never forget what a monk in Thailand once told me. He said, "Sleep as if you are entering meditation. Let your last thoughts be kind ones." That changed everything for me. Now, each evening, I take a quiet moment to thank my body for all it has carried. I thank my breath for sustaining me without complaint. And I send a gentle thought to those I love, near and far. This small ritual became a nightly prayer, soft, silent, and deeply grounding. Since then, I've come to see sleep not just as physical recovery, but as spiritual restoration. And the difference? It shows up in the way I live. I have more patience, more energy, and a clearer mind, like a still lake after the wind has settled. So if you find yourself struggling to sleep, try this. Create a space that invites rest. Light a candle. Journal your thoughts. Play soft music. Breathe deeply. You don't need fancy supplements or expensive gadgets. Just small, mindful choices that say, "I matter. I'm worthy of rest." Ask yourself, what's keeping me awake? And what can I gently release tonight? Treat sleep as a sacred ritual. Let it become the pause that restores you, not just for the body, but for the soul. You've earned your rest, not as a reward for doing, but as a celebration of simply being. And when you rise again, refreshed and renewed, how will you choose to meet the new day? Up next, we'll explore one final, essential shift that can change the way you experience everything: the power of gratitude. After learning to rest deeply and honor your need for sleep, there's one final beautiful practice to complete this journey: the act of honoring you. Tip number 8. Celebrate you. Honor your journey. In the rush of everyday life, we often forget to pause, to look back, to honor the path we've walked. We're so focused on what's next, what needs to be done, who we need to help, how we must improve, that we overlook something deeply important: how far we've already come. But here's the quiet truth: you are worthy of celebration. Every chapter of your story, every mountain climbed, every storm weathered, deserves to be acknowledged. And celebrating yourself, even in small ways, is an act of self-compassion, a gesture of deep gratitude for the life you've lived. I remember one week that felt like everything went wrong. Appointments were missed. I was exhausted, emotionally drained, just barely getting through each day. By Friday evening, I felt like a balloon with no air left. And then, without any special reason, I walked to the kitchen and treated myself to a slice of my favorite pie. There was no birthday, no milestone, no justification. It was simply, I made it through this week. And in that quiet bite, I realized it wasn't about the pie. It was about the pause, the acknowledgement, the unspoken thank you to myself for showing up, for continuing forward, even when it wasn't easy. In Buddhism, there's a concept called mudita, sympathetic joy. It encourages us not only to take joy in the success and happiness of others, but also in our own progress and growth. The Buddha wasn't just a teacher of compassion. He also celebrated the small victories, the quiet awakenings, the moments of perseverance. Whether you've just overcome a personal struggle, learned something new, or simply made it through a tough day, that's reason enough to honor yourself. In fact, it's often the smallest victories that carry the deepest meaning. I remember meeting a woman at a meditation retreat a few years ago. She had spent most of her life caring for others, her children, her husband, her aging parents. She was known in her community for her endless generosity. But during that retreat, something shifted. As she sat in silence, she began to see the years of caregiving with new eyes. She began to realize that the strength she had shown, the love she had given, deserved recognition. Not from others, but from herself. She didn't throw a party. She didn't need a trophy. A simple moment of reflection, of saying, "Thank you, self, for everything you've carried," was enough to ignite a transformation. Her perspective changed, and with it, her inner peace deepened. Celebrating yourself isn't about ego. It's not prideful. It's an act of gratitude. It's saying, I am still here. I am still strong. I am still growing. You don't need to wait for a big event. You don't need anyone's permission. You just need a moment, a breath, a quiet yes to all that you've been through and all that you still are. So today, I encourage you. Celebrate you. Celebrate your courage, your kindness, your wisdom. Celebrate your resilience, the kind that doesn't always show, but carries you every single day. Maybe it's a quiet cup of tea. Maybe it's writing in a journal. Maybe it's dancing to your favorite song in the living room. Or simply standing still, hand on your heart, whispering, I made it. What can you celebrate today? Think about it. The growth you've experienced, the struggles you've overcome, the strength you've built just by keeping on. Life is not just about surviving the hard times, it's about honoring the strength it took to survive them. You deserve to feel proud of how far you've come. As we just reflected on the importance of celebrating your journey, let's now bring all the lessons together and gently step forward into a more mindful, intentional way of living. Celebrate yourself every single day, not only for what you've accomplished, but for all that you've endured, all that you've learned, and all the quiet ways you've continued to grow. Your journey is not just a collection of years, it is a living testament to your strength, your compassion, and your unshakable spirit. So, what will you celebrate about yourself today? Maybe it's your resilience through loss. Maybe it's your ability to keep learning. Maybe it's simply your presence, right here, right now. Take a moment, right now, to honor the beautiful soul that you are. As you continue walking through the later years of your life, remember, aging is not about slowing down. It's about deepening. Deepening your awareness, deepening your presence, deepening your joy. The wisdom of Buddhist philosophy reminds us that life is not meant to be rushed nor resisted. It's meant to be fully lived, one conscious breath at a time. Throughout this journey, we've explored 8 simple yet deeply powerful practices. Each one is a doorway to peace, walking with purpose, nourishing your body with care, laughing wholeheartedly, creating a rhythm of mindful routine, reaching out to connect with others, exploring new experiences with a spirit of curiosity, honoring your need for rest, and finally, celebrating your life with gratitude and grace. These are not just habits, they are small acts of reverence, ways to treat your life as something sacred. And the beauty is, you don't have to do them all at once. You can begin today with just one small change, one mindful breath, one gentle step. Because in Buddhism, every single moment, yes, even this one, is an opportunity to grow. And the years ahead of you? They are not a closing chapter. They are an invitation to live more meaningfully than ever before. Take care of your body, nourish your mind, live fully in the present, because it is here, in this very moment, where true transformation begins. So, I ask you now, what small shift will you make today to honor your path? What intention will you carry with you as you open this new chapter of life? I would love to hear your reflections. If any of these practices have brought you peace, clarity, or even a moment of stillness, please share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's continue learning from one another as a mindful and supportive community. And if you found value in this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, give it a gentle like, and share it with someone who may need this message today. You've been walking with Buddhism Seeds, where we explore how ancient Buddhist wisdom can guide us toward a life of deeper peace, presence, and fulfillment, no matter our age. Thank you so much for being here. And until next time, may you walk gently, love deeply, and live with intention. I'll see you in the next video.